Hi guys, I wanted to record this quick video going over how to create a mod for Jack 1 on OpenGOAL since Barg's video is decently outdated by now. We're gonna go over texture replacements and modding. I'm not gonna be going over model replacement today because I feel like there's more useful guides out here than like what I could do. A lot of this stuff will be kind of the same as in Borg's video, but this is just a little bit more current with how to do things now. So we're just gonna start off, and if you guys want to follow along, that would be great. And we're just gonna see what we can do. You first want to go to the site linked in the description. This is the OpenGOAL mod base. This is what you're going to use to make mods for Jack and Daxter. This has a ton of super useful tools built in. This is basically just the Jack project repo from OpenGOAL. But this allows you to use mods and stuff, and so it's a lot easier to actually like modify it. We're not going to go over anything actually like OpenGOAL wise, like we're not going to do C++, we're not going to any of that. We're just going to be using Goal itself to make this mod. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to come up here, right here, you're going to click fork. And this choose an owner probably won't show up for you since you probably haven't forked it yet. You can only have one fork of the repository, so what Barg recommended is that you make an organization for all of your Jack mods. That is a great recommendation. I kind of agree with that. For now, I'm just gonna go ahead and do this, and I am gonna give it a simple name, J2 replace Jack. This is the mod that I was talking about last video, how I wanted to make a mod that replaces Jack with Jack 1 Jack in Jack 2. Give a simple description, replace Jack in Jack 2 with Jack from Jack 1. You're going to create the fork. You shouldn't have to copy the main branch since, you know, you're not going to need the other branches, like, I actually don't even know. Once you have this done, this will be linked to your GitHub account. You're going to click right here. You're going to click on code, and then you're going to click copy URL to clipboard. I'm assuming that you already have two things installed, and those two things are Visual Studio Code and Task. Now what Task is it is basically kind of like Make or CMake. So where you can like schedule it to do something, and OpenGOAL uses a ton of tasks to do everything. You can install it on Windows using Chocolatey, which is what I did. You're gonna have to look into that yourself if you don't already have it. So you're gonna open up VS Code. Once you have VS Code open, it is going to look like this. You're gonna click on File, and what I do is Open Folder. With this, it's nice to just have a workspace, so I'm just gonna go to my projects and create a nice little folder for it. I'm not gonna go there yet. You should go to wherever you want the folder for that repository to be. This is also assuming that you have Git installed, which you should have Git installed. I'm gonna go to terminal, new terminal, And then once you have this terminal, you're just gonna go git clone. And then that same, this right here that you clicked, copy URL to clipboard, you're gonna paste it right there. And then you're just gonna wait for Git to do its job and clone your repository. Okay, so once you have, once Git has ripped your files, once Git has cloned your repository, you're gonna want to come to File and then Open Folder, and you're gonna want to navigate to your folder for your repository. Once that is done, you now have access to all of the Jack project stuff, which is fantastic, right? First thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to mount your Jack 1 ISO, and you are going to drag everything from your Jack 1 ISO, and you're going to want to put it in ISO data Jack 1, so that way you have all access to your data. There are already some git ignores here set up, so that way you're not accidentally uploading data that you don't own, and you don't get in trouble for that. Barg recommended to run 2 terminals side by side, so you're just going to go to terminal, new terminal, and then you're going to click this button down here to have 2 terminals. The one on the left is going to be used for the REPL, which you're just going to start by running task REPL, and then the right here we can use for other tasks. You're going to get this Windows Defender alert when you first run the REPL, and this is because the REPL actually runs on an open port, so that way you can connect your game and do network stuff. I don't know, I haven't really gotten into it yet, but that's cool. The first thing you're going to want to do when you first do this, once you have your ISO data and once you run the REPL, you're going to come to the right one right here, and you're going to run task extract. And what this is going to do is this is just going to rip all of your data to the decompiler out, so that way you can actually compile everything how you want to. Okay, see, it shouldn't take very long. And then we're just going to run a quick check here by running, sorry about that. If you run task boot game right away, it is actually going to fail. That is because you've decompiled everything, and so now you need to recompile it with the REPL. And you're going to do that by doing mi here, and that is just going to compile the entire game. The first time that you run mi while the REPL is open, it is going to compile the entire game. And every time after that, it's going to keep some artifacts, so that way you don't have to recompile the entire game over and over and over, and it'll take forever. That is only when the REPL is kept open, so if you, for example, close the REPL and then recompile, it is going to recompile the entire game again. That is just a fair warning. Before shipping out your mod, you should do a quick check by closing the REPL and then recompiling on a fresh start, because some things, like, let's say you declare a function, and then you call that function before you actually declare the function, but the compile before that, it just had the function call, and because you didn't change the function the second time, it's gonna keep the artifact for that function. But then once you recompile for the first time in like the OpenGOAL launcher, it's gonna fail the compilation because the call is before the function is declared. That is actually an issue that I faced while developing the Chaos mod. So once you have your thing compiled, you're gonna do task boot game, and this is gonna launch it in debug mode. It's gonna give another Windows firewall alert. Don't worry about that. That's also kind of for the same thing. That's so that way you can run, I believe, mi here and connect to your game through the REPL. As you can see, you're now here in the game, and you can play around with your mod and whatnot. Since this is debug mode, you will have access to all the debug mode tools, which is just great. all of your mod data is going to be in goal source and Jack1 engine mods, and then this is where your custom stuff will be in mod common functions and mod custom code. You can add more files here, like you can add, for example, a test.gc, and this will just be like another file. If you do add another file in the mods directory here, you're gonna have to go to the game.gp, so that way it knows to also compile that file as well. So just make sure to do that. I'm gonna remove that file, however, I don't need it. Let's say you wanted to display some simple text on the screen. I'm gonna go to mod custom code, and then you are going to want to go to runs every frame, because since you're drawing something, you want something to be drawn at all times. So let's say you wanted to draw a string to the screen. What I do is I do let and then x. I set that variable so that way you can just change it very easily for all of your other things. And let's just have x be 100, and then y, and let's also have it be 100. One thing I do recommend before going over something like this is you should really learn Lisp. It's very helpful on how to get the syntax and everything. Then you're gonna do with-dma-buffer -add-bucket. Now you're gonna have to find a bucket ID, and what that is it tells it where what thing to use to draw that to the screen. I don't use the debug bucket because the debug bucket was only drawn in debug mode. I use the subtitle bucket. So you're gonna go point to the current dash frame global dash buff, and then this is where you're gonna tell which bucket ID to put it in. And since I said I'm gonna use the subtitle, so I'm gonna do bucket dash ID subtitle. And then you're going to go ahead and tell what to actually draw for the string. And so you're going to call draw-string-xy, and then this is going to be your text. So I'm just going to put subscribe. The font that it uses is all caps only, so you're going to have to use all caps unless you tell it specifically to use a different font. So you're gonna have to put that in all caps, and then buff, and then for your X and your Y, and then you're gonna tell it what font color to use. There are not a lot of font colors, so font dash color white. That's what I use for all of my text, and then font dash flags. I put shadow. This adds a nice little shadow to it. Kerning. I don't actually know what that does, if I'm gonna be honest. And then you're gonna large. Spelled current frame there for a second, and then it should compile. And then you're gonna run task boot game again, and as you can see here, there's text on the screen that says subscribe, and you can make this text anything. You can change the X and Y and do anything with that. So that's really cool. Now, one thing that you're probably worried one thing that I went over in the last video is I talked about how the debug mode uses more memory and just has a bigger buffer and a bigger heap than retail mode. So you aren't going to be able to call debug only things like this pop-up menu here, or this pop-up menu, or I forgot how to do it. There's plenty of them. There's plenty of different things. So to test your game, to test your mod in retail mode, you're just going to use task boot-game-retail. And that's a good way to test your game in your mod in retail mode. As you can see, it still runs completely fine. This will run with less memory on the heap than debug mode, as I said. And this is going to put you at the very start, so it's better if you change any textures or anything. The next thing I'm going to go over is texture replacements. Before you can actually do any texture replacements, you have to run task rip-textures. And this is going to take all of the textures out of the files, like out of the game files, and it's going to put all of the textures in decompiler out, so that way you can play with them. My. And then you're going to go to decompiler out and then textures here, and then you can see all of your textures. What Barg updated was he just updated the title screen, and that's what I'm gonna do. Let's see here. Instead of the precursor legacy, we're gonna use this one, the Japanese one. And so I'm gonna copy the precursor legacy japan.png file. You're gonna have to remember this name right here. And then you're gonna want to go to custom assets jack1, and you're gonna make a new folder here and call it texture_replacements. And then you're gonna replicate this folder like thing. So this is entitled -viz-priz, and then I'm gonna paste this in here, and I'm gonna call this precursor_legacy. So MI here isn't gonna be able to handle this. You have to not recompile the game, but you're gonna want to run task extract here again. And what this is gonna do is this is gonna replace that texture in decompiler out in the actual game with your custom asset texture. And then if we run task boot game retail, we should be able to see it. And as you can see here, there's Japanese text here. So you did it right. And you can do that with all textures in the game. You just have to keep the same folder layout in here as with the rest of the game. And I actually will not be going over custom level models, because there are plenty of guides out there. You basically just import the GLB into Blender, and once it's imported into Blender, you can just edit it there, and then you would just run MI, so that way it can recompile everything. Finally, is actually compiling your mod and then putting it into the mod launcher. So you can't just download the zip like you think you would be able to, because the OpenGOAL launcher can actually almost, I swear it's never worked. Yeah, like you can never import mods locally for some reason. That is almost never worked. It's very funny. So you're gonna go to I'm gonna go to my actual repository really quickly, because I am not waiting for it to compile. You're gonna go to your repository, Once you had pushed your changes to GitHub in VS Code, I'm assuming you had the Git extension, so you could do that very easily. You're going to go to Actions here, and it should say something like enable actions on this or something like that. There's this very useful tool called cut mod release, and what this will do is it's going to compile your mod and create the zip files for it in the launcher. You are going to run this workflow, and you can choose either like a patch, minor, major. You can choose any of these. This is like assuming the version starts at 0.0.0, a patch would be 0.0.1, minor would be 0.1.0, major would be 1.0.0. So most people would just start at minor. You're going to want to pick build binaries right here, and then you get to choose whichever game it supports. If you click supports Jack 3 and supports Jack X, then you're just dumb because those aren't even released yet. And then you're going to click run workflow. As you can see here, this is going to take decently long. Believe me, I know, I'm aware. There's not a whole lot you can do. It's just how long it takes to compile. Once you have that done, you should pick 2 pieces of art for your mod. If you want to put it on the launcher, which of course you want to, why would you not want to? Then you want to make 2 pieces of art for it. One will be a thumbnail and one will be a background image to display in the launcher. I have mine right here on my JG Chaos store images, and you can see here my large.png and small.png. You can see my very terribly made image here. And I don't remember the exact aspect ratios. I think this one is 4:3, and then the small one is, I think the small one is like, I don't know. It's very weird resolutions. I do not remember. You're gonna have to ask like Bard or Zed. I don't remember. But one of the images is going to be this little thumbnail image right here, or this background image right here. Once you have your 2 images and your zips and everything, you can either go to the Jack Mods Discord right here, and you can ask them, like, you can ask Bard or any of the other mod developers to put your mod on this store, or you can do this yourself by going to their repo, or you can do this yourself by going to the Jack Mods repo, click right here on script/update mod source data, and then your config.yaml, and then you will click this little edit button, and this will create a fork for you of this, and you basically just want to follow this same format that all of the others follow right here. You want to create a little name for your mod. Make sure this is specialized so nobody else can like overwrite it. This will be your GitHub repo username, so like your GitHub username. This will be the repository name for it. This will be the URL to your repository. This will be the date it's released. This will ignore any versions under this specific version here. This will be what it will show up as in the launcher. This is the description that will show up in the launcher. This will be the author that will show up in the launcher. These are the tags that will show up in the launcher, and these tags are also, if you like search for one of the tags, then it will come up with these specific mods. This is the website of your mod, but everybody just links it to their readme of the repository. And then these 2 right here are what I was talking about. This one right here, the thumbnail art, is what image this is going to be right here in the launcher. And then the cover art URL is going to be the background here, the background image in the launcher. So you just want to make sure you use the correct resolutions for these two. And then once you do that, you can click commit changes and then submit a pull request to Jack Mods, where they will eventually sweep through and close it. Now, you're probably going to go right away to the launcher and look up your mod and see that it's not there. And that is because there is a bot that combs through the mods. It will update everything every few hours. As you can see, it does it every few hours. It's scheduled every few hours. And you can you don't have to really wait for that. You can come here and ask them to, hey, can you please run the bot, and they'll do it as fast as possible. Then once update mod source has been run, if you go here in the launcher, you should be able to search and find your mod. And that's just how you do it in the launcher. I really wanted to make this video because I found a few of the things in that Bark video to be a little outdated, like the texture replacement stuff, and some of the compilation stuff. However, if you guys have or want any more resources to help you out when making a mod, ask Barg, ask Zed. I could help you out making the mod. I probably couldn't help you out so much on the back end of it. But thank you guys for watching this video. Please subscribe. And I will try to make more videos on OpenGOAL and modding.